What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a remix album by Nelly. Basically, this product is called The Dirty Versions, The Reinvention, and it came out in the fall of 2003. So this is a pretty excellent placeholder for Nelly in between like the concepts of his hit album from 2002, which went 7 times platinums in the top 15 of high selling rap albums, Nellyville, and then his double albums from 2004, which were pretty big deals, Sweat and Suit, which is excellent type pitches. I mean, a lot of these albums I've covered now. This is one of the last batches of like the Nelly from like the 2000s decade, minus the album Brass Knuckles, which is some good type fare. Also, that one wasn't as heralded, but it is an excellent type one. This was back when Nelly was in his complete mean streak and was just capitalizing, had the Midas touch, that sort of fare. But there was some other stuff by Nelly around this particular time that I am going to get to. Some of the Saint Lunatics did at least drop some albums. There was a Murphy Lee album that came out around this time in the fall of 2003, and then Ali, which I didn't know about that one as much, but Ali dropped an album in the spring of 2002, right before Nellyville. So I'm going to get to some of those type of ones. But yeah, I would definitely say this is a secret Nelly album damn near here. It has some new stuff on here, which is a pretty excellent pitch. Pretty similar to like the Curtain Call album by Eminem. It's not a greatest hits album, but it's just the fact that Nelly probably could have just given this album just remixes to all his songs and not done anything new with it. But he even packed this album with a new single, threw a couple extra songs on there new as well as far as those pitch can happen. It's just an overall pretty blistering and quality album. It's definitely a secret treat here. Excellent type find, some great songs. Capitalizes on some trends that has a lot of quality Nelly styles. And this one feels more like country grammar than Nellyville did. This kind of has some throwback moments and just overall the varieties. If you like Nelly from like his early days, this is a good reinvention of that particular stuff and just does a lot of things. It covers a lot of bases. The only thing that this album really lacks is just a huge kind of charting single. It doesn't have like a single, something like what happened in the summer of 2003. I mean, Nelly had a pretty big 2003 with the hit single off the Bad Boys 2 soundtrack, which I think Shake Your Tail Feather, that was a pretty huge song, and Murphy Lee was doing pretty good. But this one was just kind of, the single Is You is just kind of more here and there, but it is an excellent type one. I do highly recommend it. It's a secret Nelly song that just doesn't get a lot of coverage nowadays, I'd have to say. But just look at it as some excellent type fare. This is pretty much on the cusp of being a classic, easy kind of highlight. Just Nelly on his streaker runs as far as those pitches kind of happen, just continued hits and just highlights as far as that would particularly kind of happen. It's another excellent type fare. So Nelly continued to be dominant in the 2000s, and when folks thought that he wasn't around in 2003 because he just had the success of Nellyville, this was something extra that he did for the holiday season that year just to be able to have some more extra quality. So this is within the pitch, but so yeah, I would have to say here, like I was saying, the single is You. This has a real good sample on there. It's like a snazzy kind of relative blue collar kind of busybody evening traffic to kind of get here. There's some commerce for just feeling good. Out, just got done with work shift or just amongst like the last moments of work shift. If you have a cruise around job as far as those pitch kind of happen, just enjoying the kind of bustle of like a good brushy or a good tinted kind of summer, just hazy autumns and pitches like that. So good, some good type fare just to have to enjoy. Typical kind of Tuesday with like some feel good about it. So it's just a good concept of just being in a pretty spiffy type mood, just enjoying the times, just got some pizza in the car, just some good snack is just figuring out what you're going to do, have your lokes on, sunglasses on, some pitches like that as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just good type fare of just like relative stunt type music, but just a glitzy type one and just having like a good kind of just this is just a good energy. This is just a good suave. This is just a good cool cat kind of energy for like a makeshift kind of song. So I like the fare behind that one. So yeah, basically so that's the single off the sound. Like I said, it's a low key single. I'm not sure if it even charted whatsoever. It's very secretive. I don't know if it hit MTV or VH1. There was a music video for it, but it might have just been there a few times just within the pitch. This album's not heavily promoted as far as those pitches kind of happen. I look after, but yeah, there's 16 songs on this album, not counting the intro that narrows it down to 15. And out of those 15, I wound up recommending 13 songs. So the only 2 songs I don't recommend on here in any fashion would just be the Country Grammar remix and then the Ride With Me remix. So it's just kind of within the pitch. Basically, talk about those two real quick. Basically, Country Grammar remix. I like this song. I like E40 being on there, and I suppose I could recommend it within a sense, but I don't. I mean, I could say that it's not a bad song. It's just kind of the concept that it has the same beat as the original Country Grammar. So it's just kind of the concept. If you like Country Grammar, it's just a lengthier version of that song with just an E40 verse on there. So to that end, I would have to say, I mean, I originally didn't put this song on the list as far as songs I recommend, but I look after it. It is a nice song just within the tone, just being able to say. So I guess the only real true song I don't recommend on here would just be the Ride With Me remix. and I'm not going to talk about the songs that are just the same type beat remixes. Like there are two songs I'm not going to talk about with the descriptions on here. One of which is "Groovin' Tonight," which is kind of a song that was on the Saint Lunatics album. If you didn't pick up that particular album, is one of the singles off that particular album. It's pretty good. It's basically just like a song that's like a Nelly group song with like the same vibes as Ride With Me from Country Grammar. I'd say back when he was on that particular kind of more pop rap type appeal, some good type tones for that. Maybe not as like top five type single, but definitely a good song to kind of get. And then the EI Tip Drill remix is just the same as the EI remix that's already on this album. So it's just a good type ish. I'm not going to talk about those, but the say about the concepts as to why I didn't recommend Ride With Me remix. Basically, this one just didn't really enhance the original Ride With Me. I feel like the Ride With Me, that's like the only true song on here that the remix, the reinventions on this album does not compete with. I'd have to say it's just kind of the concept is just aiming for like a little bit more of like a dreary and this kind of more just like scaping kind of like it's more of like a scaping kind of country tune, just a little bit more bewildered or just emphatic, just in like a way that just doesn't capture the energy correctly. I'd have to say this was kind of within the tone that just didn't nail like the pitch behind it. But I would have to say this may I mean originally the score I was going to give this album was like a 9.25 out of 10, but I think damn near I would have to say I'll give this album like a 9.5. I would yeah I think I'm kind of in debate here as to what I would rather give the score of this album, whether it would get a 9.5 or a 9.75. I just kind of look after it. I mean, because there's 14 out of 15 songs now that I recommend on here, there's only one song I don't recommend. I look after it. It's kind of the concept that two of these remixes on here are like the same production, so it's just kind of within the fair. I mean, either way you look after it, it's highly recommendable album, I would have to say. So it's just kind of within the pitch. Because the EI Tip Drill remix does have Saint Lunatics on there, which is a pretty good pitch just to get the cats, his fellows on there as far as those pitches can happen. It does bolster that. And I do like E40. And I do like him being on a song like Country Grammar. It wouldn't be a commonplace song that you'd think he'd be on. So I'll give it a 9.75, just being able to say. Normally 14 out of 15 would get a 10 out of 10. Just me only not recommending one song was just within the pitch as far as saying just between Groovin' Tonight being found elsewhere, and then like just the one song I didn't recommend. So 9.75. That's I mean that should definitely signify the concept of this being a blistering classic. So I'm just gonna tear into some of these. One of the best songs on this album is If, and there actually are a good assortment of like these butter smooth type songs on here. This like some flavor. If you like Nelly from like the Suit album days, even though this came out before that, there are like some real suave type songs that are just perfect emphatic type ones for like that sort of vibe of if you like folks like Too Short, Ti from like the Let's Get Away days, Too Short from like his pimpish more tunes, Ludacris when he gets his pimpishness type on, Pharrell, some of those type folks that just kind of had that particular appeal. Pimp C when he's more sing-songy, some of those type folks. If is a real glitzy type one. This one, yeah, like I said, one of the best songs on here, has a great beat, very glitzy and affable, Pharrell-like smooth saunter of a song kind of get here just out. It's real nice Pharrell-like smooth saunter out of the song, I'd have to say here. Just a night venue rhythm to kind of get within that tone. Just this great concept for some venue rhythm and just lounging as far as those pitches kind of having, just enjoying the times, just the emphasis of just having a mingle and just schmooze about it, just with like some good spiffy step out. This is also good for some simple cruising, I'd have to say. It's just within the tone of being able to get some fare like that. Just a good concept. Just some more type fare, just looking nice, that sort of appeal. Just like, yep, I'm about to get crunk tonight, find some beesies as far as those pitches going to happen, get some good food, and just overall I mean, even if this is middle of the week type fare, it's not designated where this has to be a full blown get tore up. It's just kind of the concept that you're just gonna be a little bit social, have some good just jazziness, just kind of just have some fun tonight as far as those pitches gonna happen, SFW or otherwise, just looking after it. But I just have to say within the tone, Juice remix is a highlighted one. This is a song I go back with. This real excellent type one here, one of the best songs off this particular album. This has Ron Isley, which is pretty excellent type pitch. I mean, the way Ron Isley knocks out this song, this is not very frequent. I mean, he's been on some rap songs, not as frequent nowadays, but he is a pretty excellent vocalist on here. I realized that the Isleys had been around since like the 70s as far as those pitches kind of happen, but this is some excellent type fare. This is a real brilliant idea to kind of throw on this particular song and kind of get that. Just saying Pimp Juice was a great song. I feel like the Pimp Juice remix outdoes the original, which says something. I would definitely say it's like a hella smooth kind of jazz song of a bop to kind of get here. And it's like a great wine and dime tune to kind of have. So it's just like some good concepts. This Golden Eyes type tune from just sipping too much wine. Just pitches like that. Just really mingling with bass and pitches some of that type fare. Romantic evening pitches as far as those particular things kind of happen. Get some pauses. Some of those type fares get some good Italian food, get some good pitches like that. Just enjoy like plate. It's just more standard kind of, just more of like ceramic plate type fare as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a little bit more stuff where it's going to be just a little bit more graceful within the pitch, but it definitely works within that vibe. Real sophisticated type one, just Nelly on his suit type vibes, suit album type vibes, and works extremely well. Another excellent one on here would be Number One Remix. This song beefens up the original very nice, I'd have to say. It's like a new take. Number One Remix beefens up the original, I'd have to say. It's like a very nice new take. I would feel like this exhilarating song is an exhilarating kind of get in motion tune. I would definitely feel like, and it just has overall raw bravado, I'd have to say about that one. So this is kind of within the concept. Original Number One was just kind of here and there. The original Number One song was just kind of a basic in motion, kind of get you pep song, kind of like the song off of Nelly's Sweat album, which had like, I forget what that one was called. Just being able to say it had like some choir on there. I'm trying to remember what that Heart of a Champion. That's what that song was called. Like it was like, I mean, Nelly will occasionally do these motivational type songs, being a sports enthusiast, and just kind of having being a sports enthusiast, which is awesome as far as those pitches kind of happen just within the tone, as far as saying getting some of that motivation, get up and grind, and just get in shape, get fit, lose 10, 5, 10 pounds, something like that, get towards it, get the hustle that you need to. It's just within a pitch. I mean, I look after it, but the thing about some of these Nelly Hustle songs, when you think of Heart of a Champion and like Number One, some of these type ones, is it's not just, get money as far as the pitches. It's also just kind of do what you need to and get your goals accomplished. I mean, I want to say that there were more of these type of songs. I just can't think of them as full blown. Maybe there were some of those on Country Grammar as well, but I look after it like great get in motion type tune. And yeah, like I was saying, this has more raw bravado than the original. The other one was just the one from Nellyville was just more of like a simple kind of one that just kind of gets you motivated, gets you pepped up. But this one just has a little bit more thriving type energy. The guitar stuff on this particular song really helps with that sort of products as far as this pitch can happen. So this really enhances the original. Real excellent type fare. Batter Up Remix is another butter smooth type one. Really appreciate this one. This is one of the surprising best songs on this particular album. Goes great with Pimp Juice Remix, If, some of those type ones. Even the smooth type factor of the single Is You, some of those type ones. It's a Batter Up Remix. It's like an oozing and kind of pimpish, hella slog saunter of a song to kind of get here. And by slog, just kind of the concept of either makeshift slag, summer makeshift slag, or just the concept of having some drinks in your system. I have to say, once again, goes great with Pimp Juice Remix. Great song to sip to, drink to, as far as those pitches kind of happen, especially with your pals, as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Just appreciate the vibe. Just feeling hella good. Beezy's around us, making fun of them, some pitches like that. Just enjoying the type fare as far as that particular gun goes. Just enjoying this really puts like a good schmooze type factor on the original. The original Batter Up was just some summer commerce. Just feels like something you'd hear at a baseball or football game, obviously, just summer weather. It's more typical of like summer frolic, but this one just has a lot more just kind of eyes gold kind of glaze about it that just feels like something that's a little bit more. I mean, I think you can tell it's probably within the evening tone behind it, but it just has that glimmer of just kind of after hours enjoy with like a smooth factor, I'd have to say. So it's good tone for that. King's Highway is another original song on here. But like I was saying, there's 3 original songs: Is You, If, and King's Highway. King's Highway is pretty excellent type one. It's like a vintage kind of Nelly summer evening slide kind of get here from like the Country Grammar days. I would definitely feel like very country fried, takes it back to like the original Nelly days. A little bit of Nellyville, not as much, but mainly Country Grammar, I'd have to say, and touches of like Free City as far as those pitches kind of happen. Some of those type songs, like Thodem Rappas and Other Side, some of those type pitches, this album cuts from like Country Grammar, some of that type of just good stuff. Batter Up, some of those type pitches where you'd hear chiggers and this Summer Haze, some of that type frolic, this standard backwood burn and pitches like that as far as that pitch kind of happens with it. It's good type fare. The Hot in Here remix is an excellent type one. And I will say the productions on this album are pretty damn excellent. Some folks really come through. J.E. Epperson, usually, which J.E. is a producer that produced on a lot of Nelly's albums. He handled a lot of the production. He's usually a pretty excellent producer. He does a lot of excellent type ones on here. Pimp Juice is a standout. I'd feel like Batter Up is definitely a standout. I mean, he also produced the Country Grammar remix, but that didn't really have much enhancements. But there just were some nice ones on here. I want to say that like the Pimp Juice, there's at least a few of these that he particularly did on here. But the Hot in Here, I mean, most of these producers do a pretty excellent fare. Jermaine Dupri does one, David Banner does one, which is pretty good. Scott Storch, some of these type of folks. It's just within the just within the fair basement beats. But yeah, Hot in Here remix is like a glittery kind of dance club snaz kind of get here. Just makes the original more disco, I'd have to say, and has like a great R&B tinge about it. This just feels more of like a Justin Timberlake song. if you were to replace Nelly on this song with Justin Timberlake, you'd probably think that this is just something that he did circa 2002, 2003, like that song. I forget what it's called, but Rock Your Body, some of those type pitches, just very similar in production to like the hit single from Justin Timberlake, Rock Your Body from like the fall of 2002. Excellent type pitch. The original Hot in Here was just more summer, kind of spring break type fare, I'd say, but this particular one just has more disco electron, or just has more disco type fare, like early 2000s type fare. Just very Justin Timberlake-esque, some of that typeness. This feels like a pop song, relaxing type appeal. Work It remix is a quality one. This is another one that's very similar to Hot in Here remix and Justin Timberlake, so this is a good pitch. The original was pretty jazzy of Work It with Justin Timberlake, but this remix spruces it with like a sparky kind of electro flavor, and this like a super dance hit to kind of get here. Work It remix is just like a stock dance club hit as far as those pitches can happen. I mean, the thing about this particular album, is I feel like it's kind of more of like a secret product, so you get a lot of good cuts on here just within the pitch. The remixes are all good, but it's just within the concept of me just questioning like the airplay factor of some of these, but they just obviously they're going to work extremely heavily as like good dance club night venue type thrills to kind of have within that pitch. In some cases, like the EI or the Work It remix has a little bit more techno flavor that could probably play in different spots than like the original Work It. So it's just some good type fare for some of those type moments that and that's a strong thing about this project, is just the fact that pretty much all of these remixes on here do something new to the flavor and actually, bring new life to these songs. It's not just like a minor tweak here, a minor tweak there. These all feel like almost different songs to the pitch, where they in some cases outstrip the original song, which is pretty excellent type fare. So it's just some new stuff. The EI remix is an example of that. This is one that's different from like the original EI from Country Grammar. I do like that tone. It's like, yeah, like I was saying, completely different take from the original. I had to say just more paced and in motion. That's definitely more paced and in motion than the original EI. I'd have to say very similar to like the #1 song, either the one from Nellyville or the one on this particular album. It's just a very tight song, kind of get just within the tone behind it. It has some good bustle type bravado, good song to get women shaking, good song to get women shaking the jelly as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just hop to it. This one to get good song to hop to it, get folks energized as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just up out your seat, just like, all right, time to quit being a wallflower. Some of those type pitches, just kind of energetic type one with some liveliness about it. So it's good type fare. Dilemma remix is a nice one. This is another country fried type one, pretty similar to King's Highway. And there's probably at least another one of those songs on here I'm not thinking of, but yeah, one of those ones. But Dilemma remix is like a good revamp of Dilemma remix, like a good revamp on like a #1 single, I'd have to say. A little bit more after work shift. The songs, this is more of like an after work shift kind of evening slag kind of get here. This feels like Country Grammar, just with like that commercial flavor of just something that kind of feels like something you'd listen to. Maybe not so much like a cruise around, but just kind of the concept of just being in a neighborhood in like the summertime, like somewhere between like 4:45, about 7:15 when the sun's setting, like a hot June, July day, just with Bay in mind. Just good concept for some of that type fare. Just smoke one, great one to smoke one and just reflect on as far as those pitches going to happen with this. So this is just a great one here. I mean, I realize that the original Dilemma, I feel like this one's kind of a toughie in terms of which one would be better, just because the pitch of the original Dilemma just had, that one had just more commercial snap. That's probably the one that's going to get more airplay. Look, after this one, this just has like a different take on it. The original one was just kind of like summer flirting to summer kind of frolic, just with Dilemma just had more kind of summer back and forth with Beezy's as far as those pitches kind of happen, just more typical kind of standard dramatics as far as those pitches kind of happen. But I look, after this particular one, it's just a little bit more evening slagged in mind, just kind of more in like it's kind of more in like a reflective type mode, feeling good, just kind of appreciating, figure out your next moves for those pitches can happen just within that tone, I'd have to say. So yeah, there's another quality one on here, an Air Force One's remix. Now this is kind of a strange type one. I do like this one quite a bit, but it's just the amalgamation of this particular song is just a different type patch as far as that particular one goes. This is a David Banner remix, pretty dope type fair. Kind of get this. It's like a strange but stellar kind of revamp, I'd have to say. It's like a rock rap type song in the chorus and pitches like that with like some evening venue glaze kind of get here. Very moody cut to kind of have. So I like the moodiness of Air Force One's remix. It's a very brooding type song, which is strange. Just feels like a Lil Jon type song more in particular, which is a good type pitch because Nelly didn't super commonly collaborate with Lil Jon in that more crunk type movement. But that's kind of, I like the concept of what David Banner kind of did with it. Just kind of has more of like that little scrappy Lil Jon type flavor, just in a more brooding type sense. A little bit maybe possibly annoyed, which is a different concept. This is a different, once again, just like the Dilemma remix and the EI remix and some of those type ones. Some of these particular songs on here are just different takes. And that's another concept to kind of touch on about this particular album. Is just the fact that some of these despite the fact that they have the song topic of what they do, they are different takes in terms of the mood of what they display on here. And I feel like Air Force Ones, that's a song about shoes as far as those pitches can happen, having some nice kicks and some of that type of, which the original one was just kind of a snazzy bop to kind of get, which was just about being spiffy and things like that. This particular one feels like a crunk kind of nightclub song just within the pitch behind it. It feels very brooding, like, hey, watch it as far as those pitches can happen, not in the mood today, some of that type fare, which is an excellent type cut, just getting Nelly on some of that. So it's a good type pitch as far as that particular one goes. But that's the concept. Yeah, this is virtual classic here. Just would have to say, I mean, I would damn well say if you don't know about the song Groovin' Tonight, if you haven't fucked with like the Free City album by Saint Lunatics, I'd say this might as well be a 10 out of 10. But I'm giving it a 9.75 because I know about that stuff just in the pitch. So that's excellent type fare. The social score, that's kind of tricky, but I think I'll give the social score. I'll give the social score like a 9 out of 10 just because the pitch behind it, I feel like this was a very secret type product. The quality is definitely on here, especially if you know Nelly pretty damn well. It just has the hit after hit after hit. There's some smooth songs on here. There's some Makeshift on here. There's some dance songs on here. There's some country grammar kind of neighborhood, kind of more localized type. There's some countryside kind of neighborhood, more local pastime with this smoking up and disappreciating bay and some pitches like that. Some good fares for some of that typeness of this summer frolic. And there's just some good night, and there's some overall good club type songs on here for just marinating pitches like that. So it's just some good type tones, just being able to appreciate some of that very suave type album, some of that type fare, just excellent type pitch. So 9 social, but it's just within the aspect of this question, how much of this you're going to find, because it didn't have anything close to like a charting single. I mean, I feel like this is just kind of bonus Nelly. This is like extra credit Nelly as far as those pitches kind of happen, just because it doesn't have like an anchored single as huge as he was around these times to back it up. So it's just within the fare. If I look after it, Nelly did a lot. You know, the Murphy Lee album, the Bad Boys 2 soundtrack, this particular project, and then the double album in 2004. So he had a lot going on, plus Longest Yard soundtrack. Excellent type fare. So in terms of the future, like Nelly, not sure as much as what he's been up to currently. He kind of has like a lawsuit pending with like the Saint Lunatics, which is more an Ali nowadays. He kind of has like a pending court case with like the Saint Lunatics as far as those pitches kind of happen. But he did at least put out an album in 2021, so I'm gonna have to get to some more of these. I want to get to Brass Knuckles and 5.0, some of those type pitches and further projects. Plus Nelly has some mixtapes. I don't know as many full blown that he has, but there's plenty more of these. Virtual classic here. I would definitely fuck with this product. It's a secret treat, easy kind of goodie to snag up a good bountiful amount. There are actually plenty of highlights of this product. There are some of Nelly's bestest overall, I'd have to say. Some secret songs like Pimp Juice remix, Is You, If, some of these types of ones. Number One remix, pretty good. Hot in Here remix, some of those type ones that just have that immediate factor. Batter Up remix, definitely an immediate one. So there's just some ones on here that really stand with some of Nelly's best.